Wow, episode 50. Welcome back to Book to Read, everybody. And to celebrate this milestone, we're going to deep dive into Toni Morrison's Beloved. It's a book that's, I don't know about you, but it's definitely stuck with me.
Oh, absolutely. Beloved is it's one of those books that just demands to be talked about and reread and discussed.
For sure. It's so layered, so rich.
Yeah.
You know, for anyone tuning in for the first time, we're going to really dig into Beloved, the themes, the symbols, all of it. We're going to be exploring the lasting effects of slavery, how complicated mother-daughter relationships can be, and how the past, it just has this way of sticking around.
And of course, we'll try to figure out Beloved herself. She's a character who people are still, debating and interpreting, even after all this time since the book came out.
Yeah, exactly. So we start off, right, we meet Sethe. She's with her daughter, Denver. They're living alone at 124 Bluestone Road.
Yeah.
And right away, you just get this feeling, this sense of unease, like something's not quite right.
Oh, totally. And then we find out pretty quickly that their house is haunted by the ghost of Sethe's baby. It's like this angry, malevolent spirit, and it makes life at 124 practically unbearable. But it's not just a ghost story, This haunted, it represents something deeper. The wounds of slavery, the pain, it's all still there.
Yeah, like the house is soaking it all up and then throwing it back out. We learn that Sethe had two sons, Howard and Bugler. They couldn't handle the haunting, so they ran away. Even baby Suggs, Sethe's mother-in-law, she used to be so strong, but even she kind of withdrew, finding comfort only in, the colors around her.
It's really sad when you think about it. Baby Suggs, she represents a whole generation, a generation that went through so much unbelievable suffering. And then they get freedom, but the scars of slavery are still there.
It makes you wonder, right? Can you ever really escape something like that? Or does it just stay with you? Like a ghost, in a way.
And that's where Paul D comes in. He also survived Sweet Home, the same plantation as Sethe. His arrival at 124, I think it's a turning point. What do you think?
Oh, for sure. He's like this little spark of hope. Maybe things can be normal again. Maybe even love, But he's also kind of skeptical about the whole ghost thing. He wants to make 124 safe, like a real home.
I think that's interesting, his skepticism. It's like his own way of dealing with the trauma, trying to control things, create order, pretend the past isn't there. But he represents a different kind of man, if you think about it.
Oh, how so?
I mean, he's not afraid of emotions. He gets how deeply Sethe's hurting, and he wants to help her carry that pain. It's so different from, the men at Sweet Home, the slave owners. They were all about power and control.
That's a really good point. Speaking of Sweet Home, Morrison doesn't shy away from showing us how horrible plantation life was. It's chilling, the way she describes it. We start with Mr. Garner, and he seems, kind of nice, right? Benevolent.
But it's all an act, right? It's how he keeps control. Hides how cruel slavery really is. Then school teacher arrives, and it all changes. He's like the worst parts of white supremacy. Cold, calculating, obsessed with proving that, Black people are inferior. It's science.
He's terrifying, turns people into numbers, and under his rule, Sethe goes through something awful. I mean, they steal her breast milk. It's
hard to even read that part. It makes you so angry. But it's a metaphor. They're stealing her very essence, using her, exploiting her, just like they did to so many Black women. Their bodies were never their own.
And it's what drives Sethe to escape. She risks everything, pregnant, on this dangerous journey, just to get away from Sweet Home.
It's a powerful journey, full of hardship, but also these small moments of kindness. Like when Amy Denver, this young white girl, she helps deliver Sethe's baby.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest times, there's still good, and how important allies are in the fight for freedom.
But even after reaching freedom, Sethe, she can't escape the trauma. That's what makes 124 Bluestone Road so important. It's supposed to be a sanctuary, a place to heal, but it's almost like a prison, haunted by her memories.
And then, just as things are looking up, just as she starts finding some peace with Paul D, Beloved shows up. Literally, like the past coming back.
Beloved, she's fascinating. So mysterious. We never really know who she is. Is she a ghost? Is she Sethe's baby, reborn?
Or is she like the trauma of slavery itself, coming back and demanding attention? But what really gets me is how she disrupts everything. Sethe and Paul D were building something, and Beloved, she just throws it all into chaos.
Exactly, like she's forcing them to deal with the ghosts they've been running from. And that brings us to the relationship between Sethe and Beloved. But before we get into that, we wanted to take a moment to talk about something that's important to us here at Book to Read.
Bookspace. It's the ultimate app for book lovers. Imagine a space online where you can connect with other readers, talk about beloved, discover new books, all that good stuff.
It's like a virtual book club. You can share quotes, organize your reading list, even get recommendations based on what you like.
They have these curated lists, discussion groups for specific books. You can even save your favorite passages and share them. It's so cool. We'll be back to our beloved deep dive in a sec, but first, a word from our friends at Bookspace.
And we're back with Book to Read. So, thinking about Beloved, one thing that really stands out is the power of storytelling.
Oh, for sure. Because it's not just C's story, right? It's about a whole community, a whole group of people whose voices were silenced.
Exactly. They weren't allowed to tell their stories, to have their experiences acknowledged. And Morrison, through these fragmented narratives, she gives voice to the unspeakable, things that have been buried for so long.
Yeah, and it's like by telling their stories, they're reclaiming their humanity. They're saying we exist, we matter.
Absolutely. Beloved is all about memory, about honoring the past, even when it hurts.
And the book doesn't sugarcoat anything, right? It shows us the brutality of slavery, the real horrors.
Oh yeah, it's not just a historical novel, it's like an indictment of how racism and oppression are still shaping our world today.
It forces us to look in the mirror, ask ourselves, how are we contributing to this?
And it reminds us that the fight for justice, for equality, it's not over.
So what does all this mean for us? Why should we care about a story that happened so long ago?
Because the themes in Beloved, they're timeless, It's about trauma, about how our memories shape us, about mothers and daughters, about trying to find love and healing in a world that's trying to break you.
It's about hope, the resilience of the human spirit.
And it sticks with you. It makes you think, question things, confront the hard truths.
Okay, so last thought. What's one thing you hope our listeners will take away from this deep dive?
Well, I'd ask them to consider this. How does the supernatural element in Beloved change how we understand the horrors of slavery? Is it just a literary trick, or is there something more to it?
Ooh, that's a good one. Lots to think about there. Well, that wraps up our 50th episode. Thank you so much to all our listeners for joining us on this journey through literature.
And don't forget about Bookspace. It's perfect for anyone who loves to read.
Use our code BOOKTORAID for a special discount and join the conversation about Beloved and all kinds of amazing books. Happy reading, everyone. So before the break, we were talking about how Beloved, her arrival just brings up all this buried trauma. And as you were reading, how did you see the relationship between Sethe and Beloved?
It's one of those relationships, right? In literature, you can't get anything more complex, more fascinating. There's so many layers to it. On one hand, it's a mother and daughter. It's Sethe trying to fix things, give Beloved all the love she couldn't give her baby, the one she killed.
You can just feel it, Sethe's guilt, her grief, as she tries to give Beloved everything she wants. It's more than just a mother's love, don't you think?
Right. It becomes this obsession, almost like Sethe's being possessed. Beloved is taking everything from her energy, her emotions, everything. And Sethe, she just lets it happen.
It's tough to read, honestly. You feel for Sethe, but you also want to tell her, wake up, you got to get out of this.
Yeah.
And that's where Denver comes in, right?
Denver, she's been living with this haunting for so long. So at first, she likes having Beloved around, someone to be with, but then she sees what's happening, how Beloved is controlling her mother, and Denver, she realizes they need help.
It's pretty brave of her, I think. She goes outside 124. Breaks that isolation they've been living in.
And because she asks for help, we get one of the most powerful scenes in the book. The community, they come together, these women, to try and get rid of Beloved. Each of them has their own pain, But they come together to heal, to fight this evil spirit. It's like they're saying, we're stronger together.
It's beautiful, that solidarity. But it also makes you think about justice, about who's responsible for what. Well, Beloved, she's gone. But the trauma, the root of it all, that's still there. And Sethe, even though she's free from Beloved, she's broken, physically and emotionally.
That's the tragedy, isn't it? Even with everyone helping healing from something like slavery, it's a long road. It takes more than just getting rid of a ghost. You have to deal with the system, the things that caused the suffering in the first place.
Yeah, it reminds us that the impact of slavery is still here, with us individually and as a society. And Paul D., when he comes back to 124 after Beloved is gone, that shows how much he loves Sethe. He sees how broken she is, how vulnerable, and he stays. He wants to help her heal.
He's like a symbol of hope, right? Showing that even after so much pain, there's still a chance for love, for connection, and the things he says to Sethe at the end. Your best thing, Sethe, you are. So powerful.
It's so beautiful, so tender. He's reminding her that she matters, that she's strong. It's a message that goes beyond the book, you know? It speaks to everyone who's dealing with their own past, their own pain.
So as we finish up this deep dive, I'm left wondering, and maybe our listeners are too, how does Beloved change how we think about memory, how it shapes who we are? Does the book give us hope for healing? Or is it saying that some wounds are they're too deep to ever fully go away?
That's a big question. And it's what makes Beloved so powerful, so important. It stays with you. It makes you think about tough stuff, about history, about trauma, about resilience, about the human spirit.
And as we wrap up our 50th episode, we want to encourage everyone listening to keep the conversation going.
Absolutely. Go to Bookspace, connect with other readers who are exploring Beloved, share your thoughts, what you got out of the book, any questions you still have. It's a great way to understand and appreciate this amazing novel even more.
And remember to use code BOOKTOREAD. When you sign up, you'll get a special discount. Happy reading, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this incredible journey.